A health scare can happen to anyone, but when you're a celebrity, it can happen in front of an entire audience. And for one famous rocker, a collapse mid-set ended with being replaced by a fan. Wendy Williams parlayed a successful radio career into television success with her daytime talk show, The Wendy Williams Show. In November 2017, Williams was on the stage of her set, costumed as the Statue of Liberty, during a Halloween-themed episode. As she read from a teleprompter, her eyes widened as she appeared to wobble, and she then accidentally said the word caress instead of guest. Looking panicked, she began staggering backward and then crumpled to the floor. The following day, she addressed her fainting spell on the air, telling viewers the costume had left her overheated and experiencing dizziness.
A little dizzy, but not like the room spinning, just like weird.
She described the event as scary and hypothesized that her collapse had resulted from pushing herself too hard, or possibly from the effects of menopause, claiming that prior to passing out, she felt immensely hot. The following February, she revealed she'd been diagnosed with Graves' disease, an autoimmune condition targeting the eyes and thyroid. She informed viewers her doctor had ordered her to take a 3-week hiatus from her show. In 2020, she announced she'd be pausing the show due to the fatigue she was experiencing from the disease. Planned returns to the show were delayed due to her health, with guest hosts holding down the fort until the series was canceled in 2022. As a sideline to his main gig with Aerosmith, guitarist Joe Perry plays in Hollywood Vampires, a supergroup featuring Alice Cooper, Tommy Henriksen, and Johnny Depp. According to Rolling Stone, in the midst of a 2016 vampire show, Perry suddenly appeared dazed, hastily sitting on the drum riser before staggering backstage. Once he was behind the curtain, he reportedly fell unconscious. After he was revived by an EMT, he was taken to a Brooklyn, New York hospital. A rep later announced to the magazine that Perry's condition was stable and that he was currently taking it easy with the support of his bandmates. According to Cooper, watching Perry's health crisis unfold before his eyes was a sobering experience. He explained that the tour was extremely rigorous, with the band playing very long sets without breaks 8 out of the 9 days leading up to Perry's episode. Cooper explained, "You're in 4th gear, and there's no 24-hour resting period. I think it just caught up with him. He finally got up there on stage dehydrated, and I think he was exhausted. He told me the night before he hadn't eaten in 2 days." 2 years later, Perry suffered a similar collapse after joining Billy Joel during a show at Madison Square Garden and was once again hospitalized. Billy Joel isn't the only musician in the family. His daughter, Alexa Ray Joel, is also a singer, songwriter, and pianist. In 2014, she was at the tail end of a 2-week stint at New York City's famed Cafe Carlyle when, mid-show, she told the crowd that she felt ill and was experiencing pain in her back and neck. Shortly thereafter, she collapsed and was rushed to a nearby hospital. While hospitalized, Alexa was diagnosed with a condition known as vasovagal syncope, which causes a patient's blood pressure and heart rate to drop suddenly. This results in a reduction of blood flow to the brain that ultimately leads to unconsciousness. This condition is typically not seen as too serious and clears up on its own without treatment.
"I'm doing fine, I'm great, I'm standing, I'm okay."
Alexa addressed her collapse in a statement she issued to the press, saying, "I wanted to thank everyone for coming out to support me. I was excited and determined to fulfill my final performance, and I really wanted to end my run with a bang. But this was not what I had in mind, and hope to make it up to the wonderful audience very soon." Canadian pop superstar Justin Bieber has certainly had his share of medical issues in recent years, the most notable of which was his 2022 revelation that he was experiencing facial paralysis due to Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. Nearly a decade earlier, however, he was hit with a different medical malady while performing at London's O2 Arena. As the Daily Mail reported in 2013, he collapsed while in the midst of a performance, reportedly because he was having a hard time breathing. He was whisked off stage, where medical personnel examined him. Bieber's manager, Scooter Braun, came out and told the audience that doctors were anxious to bring Bieber to a hospital in order to do a thorough examination to see if there was something up with the singer's lungs. However, Braun then added that, despite the doctor's wishes, Bieber intended to return to the stage and finish the performance. True to his word, Bieber did indeed return to the O2 stage to finish the concert. Later, the young singer took to X, then known as Twitter, to confirm he was being seen by physicians and was feeling better. Thanking his fans for their understanding, he wrote, "Figuring out what happened. Thanks for the love." Meat Loaf hit it big in the late 1970s with a string of hits off his Bat Out of Hell album. In 2016, the rocker was performing in the Canadian city of Edmonton when he collapsed, tumbling forward in the midst of a verse, according to CBC News. A subsequent statement was issued, attributing his collapse to dehydration. According to the outlet, Loaf had experienced onstage collapses before, during a 2003 show in London and 8 years later while performing in Pittsburgh. In a subsequent interview, he blamed his collapse on the extreme back pain he'd been experiencing. He told the Evening Standard, "I literally was dying on stage. I was in so much pain, but I didn't want to cancel because I hate canceling." After that Edmonton gig, he underwent emergency spinal surgery, which he said fixed the problem. Speaking with Louder Sound, Loaf admitted that his collapse was a major wake-up call with respect to his health. In the subsequent months, he lost 20 pounds and told the outlet he was aiming to shed 15 more. He explained that just days after the interview, he was scheduled to begin a number of treatments, including physical therapy and acupuncture, to prevent issues like this from recurring. The iconic singer died in 2022 at the age of 74. In 2008, global music superstar and fashion tycoon Rihanna was performing at the Acer Arena in Sydney, Australia during her Good Girl Gone Bad tour. When she came around to the final song of her set, Umbrella, she reportedly bent over and held her stomach as she collapsed. She abruptly exited the stage, still clenching her stomach. With no explanation for her collapse offered, TMZ reported that it was the result of an issue with the venue's air conditioning. Eventually, Rihanna's team began to offer explanations. The pop star spokesperson told 9 News her exit was the result of a combination of dehydration and smoke inhalation caused by the special effects from the stage show. Meanwhile, someone identified as Rihanna's rep offered a bit more detail in a statement to MTV News. They explained, "It was very hot at the venue, so after Rihanna's set was over, she went off stage and needed to sit down, catch her breath, and have some water." The rep then explained that she was in perfect health and that the incident would not impact any of the other shows on the tour. In fact, the very next night, she got on stage and continued the tour without further incident. Thankfully for the singer, whatever ultimately caused the onstage collapse was apparently a one-time thing and not an ongoing medical issue. Madonna was forced to postpone her 2023 tour after experiencing a health crisis. But that wasn't the first time that the legendary artist's health interrupted one of her performances. During her 2009 Sticky and Sweet tour, she was performing in Sofia, Bulgaria, when she reportedly collapsed during the show twice. According to The Sun, the pop star fell unconscious while singing Holiday. Luckily, a fast-thinking backup dancer caught her as she fell, preventing the music icon from injuring herself. Then, while performing the song Spanish Lesson, she was on her way off stage when she again lost consciousness and fell. A source told the outlet that Madonna was very anxious after the second fall and had to take a long break backstage. Reportedly, after refusing to rest after her fall during Holiday, she was suffering exhaustion related to her anemia. According to the source, doctors advised her to postpone 2 upcoming shows in Israel, but she insisted on carrying on. She did, however, agree to take a break after those concerts in order to get some much-needed rest. Few musicians better embody the stereotype of rock star excess than Keith Moon, drummer for The Who. Prior to his 1978 death, Moon's bonkers hotel room antics were already iconic, ranging from blowing up toilets with cherry bombs to hacking every piece of furniture to splinters with an axe.
When you were there at the time, some of it wasn't funny at all.
However, one Who concert became legendary not for Moon's raucous antics, but the lack thereof. During the band's 1973 show at San Francisco's Cow Palace, Moon passed out behind the drum kit, right in the middle of a performance of Won't Get Fooled Again. Given that Moon had already slumped over and passed out a few times, fed-up guitarist Pete Townsend then asked the crowd if anyone in the audience was a drummer. After some encouragement from a friend who pushed him toward the stage, audience member Scott Halpin volunteered. He recalled to drum how shortly thereafter, promoter Bill Graham brought him backstage, and a drum tech gave him a quick tour of Moon's gear before he went up to play. Halpin wound up sitting in with the band for the rest of the concert, which lasted about 15 minutes. While surely fans would have preferred a lucid Moon, Halpin told SF Gate that at the very least, no one booed or pelted him with anything. Guitarist Carlos Santana created a unique niche within the rock landscape, fusing blistering guitar solos with Latin rhythms. In 2022, the musician was performing at the Pine Knob Music Theater, just outside of Detroit, when he collapsed in the midst of the show. After medical professionals performed first aid on the stage for about 20 minutes, Santana was placed on a gurney and wheeled off so he could be taken to a hospital. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, when Santana was off stage, an employee for the venue invited the concert attendees to pray for their ailing entertainer. A message was subsequently posted on Santana's website, which claimed he collapsed from a combination of heat exhaustion and dehydration. Santana later took to his own Facebook page to write a message to fans, which read, "Forgot to eat and drink water, so I dehydrated and passed out. Blessings and miracles to you all." He he wound up postponing his next gig minutes before he was scheduled to take the stage. Fans were understandably thankful that the cause of his collapse wasn't something more serious, given that Santana had canceled several shows when he was hospitalized the previous year to undergo a medical procedure on his heart. Stand-up comic Heather McDonald was best known for her appearances on Chelsea Handler's e-talk show, Chelsea Lately, before becoming a best-selling author and launching her own podcast. In February 2022, McDonald was performing at a comedy club in Tempe, Arizona. According to a message her team posted on Facebook, just a few minutes into her set, she collapsed and was taken to an area hospital. The message pointed out that she hadn't had any alcohol, and that medical tests performed at the hospital didn't indicate any apparent reason for her collapse. However, the impact from the fall was enough to fracture the comedian's skull.
I'm really, just recovering from hitting the back of my head really hard.
Recalling the event for Arizona's 12 News, McDonald seemed to be able to laugh about the situation now, but it was almost surely terrifying in the moment. Ever since Tim McGraw began to seriously embrace fitness in his 40s, the country singer has become nearly as famous for his physique as he is for his music. Being in tip-top shape, however, didn't prevent him from collapsing while performing at a 2018 music festival in Dublin, Ireland. A concert attendee told People magazine that McGraw sat down on the drum riser just as the lights dimmed, at which point an audible thudding sound emanated through the venue. When the lights came back on, McGraw was on his knees on the side of the stage and had to be carried away. McGraw's wife, singer Faith Hill, who also performed at the festival, later came onto the stage and told the audience that all the traveling he'd been doing had left him dehydrated. Citing this as a reason for his collapse, Hill then announced that McGraw would not be returning to finish his set. A representative for the country singer subsequently confirmed Hill's diagnosis, telling People, Tim McGraw was suffering from dehydration in Dublin this evening at the C2C show. He was attended to by local medical staff on site and will be fine. He and wife Faith Hill thank everyone for their love and support and look forward to seeing their Irish fans again soon.